Now, our next challenge is our press up. And this challenge is going to require you to draw a random walk. Well, it's basically your turtle making random movements north, east, south, or west each time it progresses by the same distance, but it can at any point choose which direction it wants to go out of the four. And also you can see we've kept the color palette from the previous challenge, and I've just applied it to the random walk so that each time it walks, it's going to pick a different color. Now, this random walk is something that's used often in mathematics and other disciplines. So it's a way that can be used to model various real-life situations, like, for example, the financial status of a gambler, or things like the path of a molecule in a liquid or a gas, or the search path of a foraging animal, and a whole bunch of other things. Take a look at this Wikipedia article, which I'll link to, and take a look at all the applications, including sculpture making, or physics, or brain research, and a whole lot more. So once you're ready, go ahead and see if you can program your turtle to create a random walk using random colors. And I want you to think about how you can get the thickness of the drawing seen here. So each of the lines is a lot thicker than before. And also see if you can figure out how you can speed up the turtle so that it draws much faster. And everything is, of course, going to be in the documentation somewhere for you to find. Pause the video and complete the challenge now. Alright, so I'm going to delete all the code from our previous challenge, but I'm going to keep my list of random colors, which I'm going to use for my random walk here. Now I'm going to keep the random import even though it's currently unused, because as you guessed it, a random walk is going to require some randomness. So how do we actually get our robot to move in the 4 different directions? Well, let's define another list called directions. And this is going to have all of the different directions the turtle can face. So we'll start from 0, which will be facing east, and then 90, which will be facing north, 180 will be west, and 270 will be south. So now that we've got these random directions, we can get Tim, our little turtle, to start moving. So every time we're going to move forwards by the same distance. And it doesn't really matter how far you move your turtle, as long as you set a reasonable number. So I'm just going to choose 30, and then I'm going to get my turtle to turn in a random direction. So I don't want to just use right all the time. So you can use left or right and pick a random direction from the list, but alternatively, you can actually use this set heading. So for example, we can set it to those 4 directions. All we have to do is call set heading and then pass in one of those angles. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to use the random module and the random choice method to pick a random direction. So now this robot is going to move forwards and then it's going to turn a random direction. But of course we want this to loop a few times. So let's say that we get it to loop 200 times. I think that should be enough to draw a decent sized image. Let's set the range to maybe 200 times for this loop to run. I think that should get us a decent image. Now, if you chose 300 or 500 or whatever other number, it doesn't matter. As long as you can get a decent image on screen, then it's perfectly fine. So we've now satisfied the basic constraints of a random walk. And you can see our turtle is now wandering around this alleyway completely aimlessly and modeling a real-life process, like an animal that's hunting for food. Now let's implement the next part of this. Let's go ahead and change our code so that it generates a random color for each step. That's pretty simple because we did it before in the last lesson. So we're going to get Tim to change his color, and we're going to use the random module and the choice method to pick from all the colors that we've already got in this list here. Now that it's pretty much random colors, random walking, The next thing we want to do, if you saw my demo of it, is we want to make each of the lines a bit thicker. So how do we do that? Well, we have to head back to the documentation. So it's probably going to be one of these methods. And if we just read through the names of the methods, they should give us a bit of an indication of which one might be the one that we want. If we take a look at the drawing control for our pen, you can see there's a method called pen size. And you can call this either pen size or width, but it does the same thing. Essentially, it just sets the size of the pen which the turtle draws with. If we set the pen size to something a little bit wider, say maybe 15 in width, then you can see when our turtle draws, it's now a lot wider and it's a lot easier to see what it's doing. Now, the final trick I want to show you is how you can speed up the turtle's animation. So if I was to wait for it to finish drawing here, that's perfectly possible, but I can also speed it up by tapping into the speed method for turtle. And I can either specify this speed as an integer or as a string. So the strings are fastest, fast, normal, slow, slowest, and this determines the animation speed of the turtle as it draws. So I'm going to go for fastest. So we can say tim.speed, and we'll put in that string fastest. And now when we run it, you can see it animates way faster and it's drawing at the speed of light. Our little turtle is completely going nuts. But this means that it'll take much less time to complete our 200 cycles as we requested. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson and you managed to get your turtle to do a random walk. Now, many of you would have done this challenge and you might have thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could generate a completely random color rather than just selecting a random one from this list? Well, we can do that. And I'll show you how in the next lesson.